Welcome to Auto News Talk. Looking at the landscape, we are basically unpacking the most chaotic identity crisis in automotive history.
Yeah, that is honestly the best way to put it. I mean, usually an industry this massive, it moves in one clear direction, right?
Right, exactly. The sheer momentum of supply chains and, multi-billion-dollar factory investments, it demands a unified vision.
But that logic is completely out the window right now. Automakers are simultaneously trying to build ultra-cheap electric vehicles and rolling out massive gas-guzzling supercars.
And scrambling to build entirely new AI-driven digital sales floors to sell all of them.
Exactly, all while dealing with millions of basic mechanical vehicle recalls. It is an industry frantically hedging its bets on what you, the driver of the future, actually want.
It's wild, and the tension across the board is just palpable.
It really is. The transition playing out is absolutely not the smooth, straight line to total electrification that we were promised.
No, not at all. So if we map out the terrain we're walking through in this segment, we aren't just looking at a few isolated car announcements.
Right. We are looking at the foundational architecture of the industry itself. The major manufacturers are essentially running three entirely different races at once.
Okay, break those down for me.
Sure. So there is the race toward electrification, the race to preserve their internal combustion performance heritage, and the race to completely digitize the business side of how a car is sold.
It's like walking into a massive restaurant and the kitchen staff is trying to serve delicate vegan cuisine, massive platters of smoked Texas BBQ, and liquid nitrogen molecular gastronomy, all at the exact same kitchen.
That is a perfect analogy. Things are going to get messy.
Yeah. So we are going to trace this line directly from the engineering drawing board, straight through to the factory floor, and finally land right on the dealership lot to see how this is actually playing out for you.
And I think the best place to start that journey is right at the heart of the vehicle, the powertrain.
Right, because the grand public idea was this wholesale pivot to electric.
Exactly. But one of the comprehensive automotive news reports tracking industry headlines highlights a completely different reality on the ground.
Really? What are they seeing?
Well, the industry is frantically trying to balance the rollout of affordable EVs, so like a new sub-$35,000 Kia, or an upcoming entry-level Ford SUV with a massive, undeniable surge in consumer demand for hybrids.
Which makes sense. I mean, range anxiety and the massive sticker shock of early EVs are still very real hurdles for the average consumer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you live in an apartment without a dedicated charger, an EV is just a logistical nightmare.
It really is. Which brings us to a truly fascinating data point from that report. Hybrids have actually overtaken EVs in zero-emission registrations in California.
Wait, really? In California?
Yeah, in California.
Wow. Because California is like the ultimate bellwether market for green technology. If hybrids are winning the sales race there, that is a blaring siren to the rest of the country.
Oh, it changes the entire calculus for manufacturers. It shows that buyers want the bridge technology.
Right. They want the battery efficiency for their commute, but they still want the safety net of a gas tank for the weekend road trip.
Exactly. It proves the market is still dictating terms, not the top-down mandates.
Yeah.
But, here is the gaping hole in that reporting. What it doesn't answer is how automakers are actually going to balance these completely conflicting product lines while simultaneously meeting tightening regulatory obligations.
Because building an EV and building a hybrid require entirely different supply chains, right? Different battery chemistries, different factory tooling.
Totally different.
And legacy automakers are terrified of betting their entire existence on the wrong horse. If you build a billion-dollar EV plant and consumers want hybrids, you go bankrupt.
Exactly. So they are fundamentally changing how they engineer cars to survive this messy transition.
Right. And there's an industry report detailing how Honda is reportedly turning to Tata Technologies, which is a massive engineering firm based in India, to develop a highly flexible multi-powertrain platform.
Yeah, and this represents a monumental shift in automotive philosophy. The report explains that this single physical platform is being designed to handle internal combustion engines, hybrid setups, and full battery electric powertrains, all on the exact same base architecture.
Which is a huge departure from Honda's historical DNA.
Huge. They have always prided themselves on keeping core engineering work fiercely in-house.
Right.
But now they are shifting heavily toward hybrids, planning multiple next-generation hybrid models globally, and they are using India as a massive global engineering hub to pull it off.
And the driving force behind this is pure economics, right? The report highlights Honda's internal triple half cost-cutting initiative.
Yeah, the triple half. The goal is to have development time, have the cost, and have the workload.
It's an aggressive, almost desperate survival strategy.
Well, developing 3 different types of cars from scratch is financially unsustainable. So outsourcing the platform development to Tata gives them the flexibility to pivot based on regional demand without destroying their balance sheet.
Let me push back on this engineering philosophy for a second, though.
Sure.
If you're building a physical platform that has to accommodate the structural needs of a liquid gas tank, a heavy battery pack, a traditional drive shaft, and a hybrid system, doesn't that make the car a massive compromise?
Oh, entirely.
I mean, think about it. An EV wants to be a flat skateboard, the batteries are the floor, but a gas car needs a deep transmission tunnel and space for an exhaust pipe to run the entire length of the car.
Right.
If you build a platform that does both, you are essentially building a Swiss Army knife. It has a screwdriver, but it's not as good as a dedicated screwdriver. You end up leaving empty cavities in the EV version, or you raise the floor pan and ruin the aerodynamics.
You've hit on the exact engineering compromise that defines this current era. You absolutely sacrifice the ultimate optimization of a dedicated EV platform.
Yeah.
But right now, the financial risk of building a dedicated EV architecture that consumers might reject is vastly greater than the penalty of a compromised shared floor pan. It is the ultimate strategic hedge.
That makes a lot of sense.
Of course, the limitation of this specific Honda and Tata report is that neither company has officially confirmed the deal. So details about the exact scope, production timing, and specific vehicle applications remain totally uncertain.
Right, but, the money saved on those sensible, compromised hybrid platforms is exactly what funds the other side of this industry identity crisis.
Oh, absolutely.
Because while half the industry is sweating over flexible architectures and budget-friendly EVs, a completely different faction of the automotive world has seemingly lost its mind in the best way possible.
Yes, they have.
They are cooking up the most absurd, high-horsepower gas vehicles we've ever seen.
The enthusiast counter-movement is loud, and it's incredibly powerful. We can see this perfectly illustrated in a dispatch from Detroit covering Ford's unveiling of the Mustang Dark Horse SC convertible.
Oh man, the specs on this thing are violent.
They really are. This vehicle is a prime example of automakers leaning heavily into visceral mechanical experiences that electric vehicles simply cannot replicate.
Yeah, it packs a 5.2-liter supercharged V8, cranking out 784 horsepower and 660 pound-feet of torque.
It's massive.
And they route all that power through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and it sits on a specially tuned Magna-Ride suspension.
Let's break down why those specific components matter. A dual-clutch transmission literally has 2 clutches working simultaneously.
Right.
One holds the current gear, while the other already has the next gear engaged and ready to snap into place in milliseconds. It provides a level of violent, immediate engagement that a silent EV motor just doesn't offer.
Yeah, you feel it in your chest.
Exactly. And the Magna-Ride suspension uses shock absorbers filled with magnetically charged fluid. A computer applies a magnetic field to instantly stiffen or soften the fluid thousands of times a second based on the road conditions.
They even had to bolt a massive magnesium brace across the engine bay just to stiffen the open-top body.
Yeah, because when you chop the metal roof off a car, it loses its structural rigidity. It becomes a wet noodle.
Right, and if you add nearly 800 horsepower of twisting force, you would literally warp the frame without that magnesium brace holding everything together.
Exactly. And the positioning of this car is fascinating. The coupe version of the Dark Horse was engineered as a lap-time, track-focused weapon.
Okay.
But this convertible pivots to become a high-output, street-focused grand tourer.
Ford's specific phrasing in the dispatch is what really caught my eye. They described the cabin as offering endless headroom and a full, unfiltered soundtrack of the V8 and the supercharger whine.
They aren't just selling transportation anymore.
No, they're selling the noise. They're selling the vibration.
And that is the emotional connection. Automakers acutely understand that the era of big internal combustion is drawing to a close. So they are cashing in on the nostalgia and the raw demand for mechanical engagement right now.
Because the electric motor might be faster off the line, but it lacks the theater.
Exactly. What that source leaves open, however, is whether the coupe's hardcore track pack, with all its carbon fiber aerodynamic parts and heavy-duty upgrades, will even be offered on this convertible version.
Right. We don't know yet, But this isn't just an isolated passion project from Ford, is it?
Not at all. Another roundup of product updates confirms that this is a widespread industry counter-movement. Automakers are rapidly reshaping their performance identities to capture enthusiast dollars.
Yeah, the list of vehicles in that roundup is staggering.
It really is.
We are seeing things like drift-spec manual transmission Dodge Chargers, a 1,000 horsepower Hennessy V8 Ram truck, and rumors of four-door Camaros and Mustangs to broaden their market appeal before the regulatory window shuts entirely.
And at the same time, we're seeing massive strategic supply chain shifts beneath the surface, like Lincoln planning to phase out imports from China to adapt to the shifting geopolitical landscape.
You know the phrasing that really sticks with me from that roundup?
What's that?
The description of the Rizvani Beast X. The report bluntly describes it as a last gasp for GM's massive 6.2-liter engine.
A last gasp.
Yeah, it perfectly captures the industry mood. They're throwing everything at the wall for the internal combustion enthusiasts while they still can.
They really are. But here is the reality check on all of this. Building a 1,000 horsepower truck is great for Instagram headlines. But what that reporting doesn't address is how these hyper-niche, incredibly expensive future products will actually fare, given the fast-changing landscape of global tariffs, shifting emissions penalties, and, unpredictable consumer demand.
Right, it's a massive financial risk.
Huge. So let's zoom out and look at the whole picture we've painted here. You have manufacturers outsourcing platform engineering to India to build sensible, compromised hybrid commuters.
Yeah.
And in the next breath, they are engineering magnesium structural braces for 784 horsepower supercharged convertibles in Detroit. Managing all these radically different types of hardware is putting immense physical strain on the manufacturing system.
I can imagine. Because building EVs, hybrids, and supercharged V8s requires entirely different assembly line processes. The workers are stretched thin. The suppliers are stretched thin. And, well, the quality control is visibly slipping.
Which brings us to the hidden crisis of this transition. If we connect this back to that general automotive news report tracking the new models, they also tracked an astonishing wave of massive safety issues.
Oh, right.
Amid all these wild, high-tech product rollouts, the basic physical hardware is failing.
Yeah, we're talking about 1.2 million Ram pickups recalled for seatbelt issues. 500,000 Toyota Camrys recalled for blank instrument panel gauges. Over 300,000 Mercedes vehicles recalled for rollaway risks.
It's unbelievable.
We aren't talking about glitchy infotainment screens. We're talking about fundamental safety mechanisms like seatbelts and cars rolling away.
It underscores the sheer complexity of modern manufacturing. The physical hardware is getting incredibly complicated to manage.
And it makes you wonder, if the multi-billion-dollar manufacturers are struggling just to bolt the cars together properly, how are the local independent dealerships supposed to actually manage and sell this chaotic, wildly diverse inventory?
Right. That is the crucial bottleneck at the end of the line. And it brings us to a retail technology article that examines the role of artificial intelligence on the dealership lot.
Okay, AI on the lot.
Yeah, and it argues that AI's real superpower in dealerships isn't what you might expect. It's not a flashy, customer-facing chatbot on the website.
Right.
Instead, the true value of AI lies in connecting the messy, fragmented back-end workflows of the dealership.
Because if your internal dealership systems are a mess, like if your service department software doesn't talk to your sales department, software dropping an AI layer on top of it doesn't fix the mess.
Exactly. The article makes a profound point regarding this. AI amplifies existing processes. So if a dealership's bad processes are fragmented, AI will just cause those bad processes to fail exponentially faster.
Wow, yeah.
The high-value uses are completely hidden behind the scenes. We're talking about AI handling lead prioritization, pricing alignment across digital and physical platforms, and streamlining credit evaluations.
So instead of a human employee doing soul-crushing data entry like copying a customer's address from a web form into a financing portal, the AI handles the API connections instantly.
It theoretically frees up the staff to focus on actual customer guidance. But the critical requirement is that connected online and in-store systems must be fully integrated for it to actually work.
And here is where it gets incredibly relevant for you, the person actually buying the car.
Definitely.
The article points out that AI can be heavily utilized in the finance and insurance office, the F&I office, where you sit down and sign the final paperwork. The AI can hyper-personalize product education for protection plans and service contracts based specifically on the vehicle type you are buying and your individual ownership patterns.
Let's look at how that actually functions. Under the old system, a finance manager would pitch you a generic menu of warranties.
Right, the standard pitch.
But with AI, if the algorithm looks at your data and sees you keep your cars for 10 years and drive 20,000 highway miles annually, it doesn't pitch you the interior stain protection package. It instantly calculates a specific drivetrain warranty priced to your exact risk profile.
That's fascinating.
Dealerships shouldn't measure their success by how many shiny AI toys they buy, but by how much friction they actually remove from your buying journey.
It makes the upsell smarter and less invasive. But this raises a massive red flag regarding the limitation of this technology.
Yeah, it does.
The article emphasizes that transparency and human oversight are necessary. But what it doesn't answer is exactly how compliance safeguards will actually be enforced when a black box AI algorithm is making complex financing and credit evaluations.
Right.
If an algorithm decides you qualify for a 7% interest rate instead of a 5% rate, how do we ensure that math isn't unintentionally biased?
That is a regulatory minefield waiting just over the horizon. The software is advancing much faster than the legal frameworks designed to govern it.
It really is. So let's pull this entire narrative together. We can really see the architecture of this industry-wide identity crisis.
Yeah, three distinct themes emerge across all our sources. First, we see strategic hedging.
Right.
Automakers are terrified of committing to a single path. The Honda and Tata Technologies multi-platform report is the ultimate proof that manufacturers are spending billions on compromised Swiss Army knife architectures just to keep their options open between gas, hybrid, and electric.
And second, we have the enthusiast counter-movement. The louder the regulatory push for silent EVs becomes, the louder the supercharger whine and the V8 exhaust notes become.
Oh, yeah.
The Mustang Dark Horse Convertible and the last gasp product roundups show automakers cashing in on raw mechanical emotion to fund their greener projects while the window is still open.
And third, we have the hidden complexities. The strain of running these divergent development paths is showing up in massive physical product recalls, from seatbelts to blank gauges, forcing dealerships to adopt advanced AI backend systems just to manage the operational chaos, as detailed in the retail technology reporting.
And sitting right in the middle of all this are two massive contradictions. First, there is the intense tension between the industry's loud public push for affordable EVs, supported by the news reports of upcoming models, versus the quiet reality that hybrids are actually winning the sales race in crucial bellwether markets like California.
And the second contradiction is the jarring juxtaposition of technology. You have an industry building highly advanced AI-driven dealership sales and financing processes, while the physical cars themselves, the actual metal and rubber rolling off the line, are facing massive basic mechanical failures.
Yeah, it's wild. Here's your practical takeaway from all of this. When you go to buy your next vehicle, look past the shiny front-end technology. Understand the ecosystem you are stepping into. The dealership might be using advanced AI algorithms to dynamically price the car and structure your loan, while the manufacturer who built it is simultaneously hedging its bets on the fundamental engineering of the platform under the floorboards.
You are buying a product from an industry sitting right in the middle of a massive historic pivot.
Thank you for joining us for this segment of Auto News Talk. We are watching the auto industry try to build a future out of batteries and code while simultaneously doing burnouts in the parking lot with a supercharged V8.
It's a wild, contradictory time to be a driver.
It really is. I will leave you with this provocative thought to mull over. As AI makes the process of buying a car smoother, faster, and more hyper-personalized than ever before, will that frictionless experience make us less critical of the massive engineering compromises hiding just underneath the sheet metal? Keep that in mind the next time you step onto a lot.